Welcome to all computer science students. In this lecture, we learn our first chapter in paper 2, that is Introduction to Microprocessor and Organization of 808 file. In this lecture, we see Introduction of Microprocessor, what is microprocessor, function of microprocessor, and evaluation of microprocessor. Firstly, we see what is a microprocessor. Micro, this word is indicating very small in size. And process means to manipulate. That is certain operation on numbers. Microprocessor is an important part of computer architecture without which you will not be able to perform anything in your computer. A microprocessor take a bunch of instruction in machine language and execute them, telling the processor what has to do. Computers, central processing unit, CPU, built on a single integrated circuit, that is IC, is called microprocessor. What is in simple way? What is a microprocessor? In CPU built on a single integrated circuit, that is IC, is called microprocessor. Now we see the definition of microprocessor. Definition of microprocessor. Microprocessor is a semiconductor. Microprocessor is a semiconductor multi-purpose programmable logic device. It is a semiconductor multi-purpose. It performs multiple tasks. That's why it's multi-purpose programmable logic device that read binary instruction. That read binary instruction as a input. Read binary instruction. Where read binary instruction from storage. From storage. And the storage is called memory. Storage is called memory. Accept binary data as a input. Accept these binary data as a input. Process according to that data to the instruction and provide result as a output. And process data according to instruction. According to instruction. And provide result. Result as a output. This is our definition. Again, and repeat this definition. Microprocessor is a semiconductor multi-purpose programmable logic device that read binary instruction from storage device. It's called memory. Accept the binary instruction as a input. Accept binary data as a input and process data according to instruction and provide result as a output. Integrated circuit that contain much of processing capability of large computer. A microprocessor roughly divided into 3 parts. That is ALU, register and control unit. This ALU. ALU is an arithmetic logic unit where arithmetic and logical operation carried out through the ALU. Whereas the register primarily used for storing data. These registers are used to store temporary data at the time of execution. Okay, so the register primarily used to store data temporary during the execution of a program. Control unit provide timing and control signal. This control unit provide timing and control signals. Okay, and ALU is a arithmetic logic unit. It perform arithmetical and logical operations. Okay. Now after that we see the functions of microprocessor. Okay, so about the microprocessor. What is microprocessor and definition of microprocessor? Okay, again I'm repeating. Microprocessor definition is microprocessor is a semiconductor multipurpose programmable logic device that read binary instruction. माइक्रोप्रोसेसर क्या करता है, जो बाइनरी इंस्ट्रक्शन है उसको रीड करता है एज अ इनपुट. जो इंस्ट्रक्शन है, इंस्ट्रक्शन के अकॉर्डिंग वो क्या करता है, प्रोसेस करता है. आफ्टर द प्रोसेसिंग gives us a result. Okay, produce result as a output. A microprocessor roughly divided into three parts, that is ALU, register and control unit. Okay, ALU arithmetic logic unit. यहाँ पे क्या होता है, जो arithmetic and logical operation है वो परफॉर्म करता है. ALU रजिस्टर डाटा को टेम्पररी स्टोर करता है एट द टाइम ऑफ एग्जीक्यूशन. एंड कंट्रोल यूनिट का यूज क्या है, control unit send the timing and control signal to whole circuitry or whole system. whole system है उसे timing and control signals को provide करता है control unit. Now after that we see the functions of microprocessor. Functions of microprocessor. Okay. First function, microprocessor fetch, decode and execute instruction. Fetch, decode and execute instruction. माइक्रोप्रोसेसर क्या करता है, इंस्ट्रक्शन को फेच करता है, डिकोड करता है और क्या करता है, एग्जीक्यूट करता है. Already we see in our definition, microprocessor is a programmable device, accept binary as an input, gives us a result as a output. तो क्या करता है, डाटा को फेच करता है, डिकोड करता है and then execute it. The next function of microprocessor is a transfer data. Transfer data. Okay. Transfer data from one block to another block or from one block to IO lines, that is input output lines. Next function of microprocessor is to give proper response. Give proper response. Microprocessor give proper response to different externally and internal procedure. Interrupt according to their priority. The function of microprocessor is provide control and timing signals. Provide control and timing signals. These are the functions of microprocessor. Now after that, we move on our next point, that is evaluation of microprocessor. Evaluation of microprocessor. The microprocessor has become a more essential part of many gadgets. The evolution of microprocessor was divided into 5 generations. The first, second, third, fourth, and fifth generation. First generation, the first microprocessor was introduced by Intel. First microprocessor introduced by Intel company. Intel. In 1971. The first generation of microprocessor started from 1971, and Intel company introduced first microprocessor, that is 4004 microprocessor. This is 4-bit microprocessor. This processor is a 4-bit microprocessor, and this microprocessor used in calculator. In same generation, the Intel was introduced another microprocessor, that is 8008 microprocessor. It is a 8-bit microprocessor. It is a 8-bit microprocessor, and this is also introduced another microprocessor 8080, and also Motorola's introduced 6800 microprocessor was introduced in first generation. Now see the second generation. Second generation. Second generation is started in 1974. 1974. Intel was introduced 8080 8-bit microprocessor. In 1974, Intel was introduced 8080 8-bit microprocessor. Also, Zilog's company also introduced Z80. This is also 8-bit microprocessor. Motorola 6800 M6800 microprocessor. These are the 8-bit microprocessor. In this generation, clock speed is 3 megahertz. During this generation, development of microprocessor has been directed towards the complete microprocessor, that is the microcontroller. Here, during this generation, development of microprocessor has been directed towards the complete microprocessor, that is microcontroller. In 1977, microprocessor introduced 12-bit microprocessor. Microprocessor introduced 12-bit microprocessor. In second generation, 1976, Intel was introduced first general purpose microprocessor, that is 8085 microprocessor. 8085 microprocessor. This microprocessor also 8-bit microprocessor, and this microprocessor clock frequency is a 3 megahertz. 3 megahertz. Okay. In 1977, 12-bit microprocessor was developed by Intercell. Intercell company IM600 and Toshiba T8190 microprocessor was introduced. Now we move on third generation. Before that, again I'm repeating the second generation microprocessor. In second generation microprocessor started from 1974. That time Intel was introduced 8080 microprocessor. This is 8-bit microprocessor. Also Zilog and Motorola company also introduced 8-bit microprocessor, Zilog Z80 and Motorola M6800. And in 1976, Intel was introduced our first general purpose microprocessor. This microprocessor is in our study in this year. Okay, so the 8085. This microprocessor is also 8-bit microprocessor and clock frequency is a 3 megahertz clock frequency. Yeah, 1977 IM600. This 12-bit microprocessor was introduced. Okay. Now move on our third generation. Third generation. The Intel introduced first 16-bit microprocessor in third generation. 16-bit microprocessor was introduced in third generation. In 80, this microprocessor is a 8086 microprocessor. And third generation microprocessor was started from 1978. In 1978, first 16-bit microprocessor was introduced, that is 8086. In 1979, Zilog Z800 microprocessor, and also in 1980, Motorola M6800 microprocessor was introduced. These are the 16-bit microprocessor. 16-bit microprocessor, and this microprocessor memory space was 64 KB. Microprocessor memory space was a 64 KB. In this generation, microprocessor was a fully arithmetic, execution and efficient higher level language of addressing. Okay, this is the third generation microprocessor. Started from 1978. First microprocessor, 16-bit microprocessor was introduced here. It is 8086. Then 1979, Zilog introduced another 16-bit microprocessor, Z8000. Okay, Z8000. And Motorola also introduced another microprocessor, M6800. And here in this generation microprocessor memory space was a 64 KB. Now next one of fourth generation microprocessor. Fourth generation microprocessor. In fourth generation microprocessor, Intel introduced first 32-bit microprocessor. That is 80386 in 1981. Third generation microprocessor, yeah, fourth generation microprocessor. Intel was introduced first 32-bit microprocessor, that is 80386 in 1981. In 1982, another 32-bit microprocessor introduced by HP 32. And this microprocessor 1982. And 1987, Motorola introduced 32-bit microprocessor, that is 68020 microprocessor in 1997. Now, this is about the 4th generation microprocessor, and last generation is the 5th generation of microprocessor. 5th generation microprocessor. This generation started from 1993. Intel introduced Pentium series. After Intel come out with a new processor, namely Pentium processor, followed by Pentium Pro CPU, which allow multiple CPU in single system to achieve multiprocessing. Okay. So it started from 1993. So Intel introduced the Pentium series. Pentium series. That is P1, P2, P3, I3, I7 up to, okay, after 1996, after 1996, Celeron, Xenon, DX4, Core i3, Core i7, in this generation, Intel made a drastic improvement in microprocessor, provide greatest speed and run the system on new operating system, that is Linux and Unix, etc. This is the evolution of microprocessor, 1st to 5th generation. 1st generation started from 1971 up to 1993, started the 5th generation. Okay. And this is about the evolution of microprocessor. I hope you understand. Okay. So next lecture we see the general microcomputer, introduction about microcomputer. Okay. Thank you, students.